guys, welcome back. We have another special episode. We've got another interview. Now, today we are talking to Shane. Shane is the COO of Ethereum Towers, an Ethereum-based metaverse. Shane is going to be a speaker at the Women of Web3 Summit down in Miami, Florida, November 30th to December 1st. So if you are in the area, or if you're thinking about showing up, hey, what are you thinking about anymore? You should just do it. Get your tickets and head on down there. So we definitely look forward to seeing everyone down there. I will be your MC, but today we are chatting with Shane. He's going to be keynoting about the metaverse at the summit. So Shane, how you doing, man?
Doing fantastic. And if you are picking up that ticket, remember to use code ETowers, just ETowers, to get 15% off. So if you're looking to save a little extra money, you can thank ETowers for it, but ETowers to get 15% off. And yes, I'm doing fantastic. It's,
I mean,
it's
always
Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Friday afternoon. I didn't have the kids last night, so I'm pretty well rested. And it's almost a weekend. Can't really complain.
There you go. Friday nights in my house. We do it every weekend. Every Friday night we get pizza. That's our big thing. So pepperoni pizza with a Caesar salad. Do you have any weekend traditions that you do every weekend?
Weekend traditions? No, to be honest with you, we get pizza at least once a week in our household. It's because both me and my wife are just too lazy to cook one night. We're just like, let's just go grab a pizza, 5-minute drive down the street, go grab a, Pizza Hut or Little Caesars or whatever we really want. And it's just, let's get the kids fed. They're grumpy. We're grumpy. They're going to get fed, bath, ship them off to bed before, somebody ends up losing their mind.
Oh, that's really funny. Now I've got a 1-year-old daughter, so we did talk a little bit before we hit the record button, and you are on a different level of dad than I am. My daughter she's just turned 1, so you did share some anecdotes and some personal stories that so I've got some things to look forward to.
Oh man, yes, for all those in the crowd. So I have a little boy that's about 7.5, and then a little girl that's 4, going on 14 with that attitude of hers. Said it from the beginning, but listen, if I make it to 45, it's a blessing, because that little girl is going to give me an ulcer without a shadow of a doubt by the time. Give it like 3-4 more years, and she's a very strong, independent 4-year-old that tells me what to do versus the other way around. Our household is definitely a lot of bantering back and forth, to say the least, and she is definitely the the strongest one in this household when it comes to opinions.
There you go. That kind of segues us, I guess. Again, you are speaking at the Women of Web3 Summit down in Miami. So that is empowerment to the females in the ecosystem and the industry, making sure that we all represented in the same way. Which I love that about the metaverse, right? And you and I are definitely probably going to have a good talk about the metaverse here. But let's just chat really quick about Miami. Have you been down there? Are you looking forward to the keynote? Do you know what you're going to say? Talk to me a little bit about that before, and don't give away any secrets now.
Yeah.
If you say, hey man, it's none of your business, you can say, hey man, it's none of your business.
Yeah. So I have been to Miami before. Haven't been down there recently. At that point, so where I actually live in the middle of nowhere, Canada. So imagine like prairies, you can see your dog run away for days, sort of idea, flat as can be. So by that time, it'll be like minus 25 degrees Celsius. I think that equates out to being like minus 3 or minus 5 degrees Fahrenheit. So obviously I'm just going to enjoy the weather, like I'll be happy. Even if I don't end up speaking, I'll just be happy to be down there networking in 70-degree heat, in the pool. Yeah, absolutely. In terms of like the keynote itself, I think I bring a little bit of a unique experience to sort of keynotes. I'm going to be specifically speaking to like metaverses and how inclusivity and diversity is such an important part of all of the upcoming metaverse. You think of not only people that are of color or different genders, etc. But think of like disabilities, etc. As sort of the metaverse begins to expand, it becomes a much more of like a safe haven for individuals that maybe are a little bit of introverts or concerned with meeting up IRL. It gives them sort of that safe haven. So looking forward to our chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, inclusivity in the metaverse, I think is going to be one of the paramount foundations of it. And I'm really excited for that. Like you had said, like, even if you are disabled, like it doesn't matter. Like, in the real world, like, for that person to go into an office, maybe they feel uncomfortable because they feel people are talking about them, even if they're not, or, people are talking about them, whatever. And so, like, in the metaverse, like it doesn't matter. Like everybody can just be who they are. They can be what they are, and there is no, there should be no disgruntledness about that, because like that's kind of the whole point of where we're going with it. So with the project that you guys are working on, Ethereum Towers, and able to police, for lack of a better term, some of the content that's happening there, so that people don't take advantage of people for disabilities or the way that they talk, the way that they sound, whatever.
Yeah, obviously the metaverse itself, especially when it comes to the idea of policing behind it, right? It is always such a sensitive topic because, individuals feel like they are open because they own an asset, that they should be able to do whatever they want. And you know what? I don't care what they do behind closed doors. I really don't. You can do whatever you want within your very own apartment. But when you're in sort of a communal space, etc., you will be able to block an individual. So if you don't necessarily want to ever see that individual again, you'll be able to block them. We will be able to blacklist individuals, so they can still own their apartment, but you're probably going to end up having to just sell it because they won't be able to experience the metaverse. So obviously, when it comes to all of these different potential issues, we are going to have best practices set up in place to ensure that everybody has a very positive, engaging, enlightened experience when it comes to our metaverse anyways. But obviously over time, things will begin to evolve within sort of our metaverse itself, and hopefully there'll be additional mechanisms set up in place to avoid anybody getting into any sort of harm's way before it even happens.
Yeah, now I would say that you guys are doing fairly well for your sales, especially when it comes to the secondary. I think you're churning and burning, getting close to like 1,000 ETH in secondary sales. So like, what as far as playability goes, like what's your long term, or maybe what's your forecast for when you see people in a fully immersive Ethereum Towers ecosystem?
Yeah, so funnily enough, we've actually done $1,400 or 1,400 ETH in secondary sales.
Hmm.
So I should maybe even take a step back to the very beginning of Ethereum Towers. So Ethereum Towers started September of last year. And it initially started, if people are around last September in sort of the Web3 space, it started off as a loot style project. So quite literally, it was just like text on a JPEG, and you interpreted your apartment however you imagined it, right? You were just on, floor 1, apartment 7, tower 1. But our project blew up very quickly. Like it went from like 50 people in the Discord to like 5,000, seemingly over like a 2 to 3 week period. It went crazy very quickly. So our project went from a loot style project to immediately becoming so much more. So at that point, within our Discord, we had somebody that owned land in Decentraland and Sandbox, and they were like, "Hey, like we could lease this land to you." Like, fantastic, amazing, like that's obviously something that we're very interested in. We had like a architectural student that was like, I'd love to help conceptualize and help you guys visualize what Ethereum Towers could look like. And over I'd probably say like a month-long period, we're really starting to dive in a lot deeper to sort of the metaverse itself, and we came to the realization that we need to go professional on all these things. So we actually hired an architectural firm out of Scotland. They're called RM Visuals, to build Ethereum Towers. Like, it is quite literally built by professional architects that have won
That's cool.
awards in the EU. And then for like the game itself, we were like, okay, well, let's bring in a gaming development studio to help us like build it in, whether it be Sandbox or whatever metaverse is potentially available to us. And after like a couple of calls with a handful of different gaming studios, it became abundantly clear that going into any other metaverse was just never going to be in the cards, because all those metaverses had, poly count restrictions, so you can't really go into like high level of detail the way that Ethereum Towers is really designed to look. And secondary to that, height restriction. Our towers are 102 stories tall, like I guess 101 stories, but you still have like some at the base. So, anyways, it was never going to work. So at that point, we made the decision that, you know what, we're actually going to build our very own metaverse, and we can control everything that goes into it, everything from like the economy to height to poly count to even how we build it. So we're building actually on Oculus. So we have like an Oculus approved vendor. It's like one of 100 in the world that are, quote unquote meta approved, to build our actual environment itself. We have really good modelers that are based out of Europe as well, that are helping us design from the models that our architects have given us, Ethereum Towers, and that's going to be all playable come December or early of next year. Right now, I'm still saying December, but that residential floor, I can right now go into it and like play around on my Oculus headset within Ethereum Towers. And
So
Ethereum Towers.
I've got an Oculus. Should I?
Oh, yeah.
Should I be okay? So I could get in myself.
You'll be able to get in December. So right now,
Nice.
it's just playable to like a handful of us. And like, don't worry, you don't necessarily need to own an apartment in order to like get to Ethereum Towers. It'll be open up for everyone. But once you have your very own apartment, you can decorate it however you see fit. Like, you can change the wall colors, you can change the floor textures. We already have like, I think roughly about like 40 or 50 items that you can place within there. And then we'll have like different sort of like packages. So for example, if in the future, JChains, you wanted to maybe host a podcast within your very own apartment, you can buy the podcast bundle, which will have like director's chairs and like a cool like light setups within there. So you could like host a podcast within there. And obviously you can still like potentially record it over Zoom and do sort of your normal thing. But yeah, it would be like they're sitting right next to you in the metaverse itself. So yeah, we'll have a ton of different like bundles. I don't want to share like too much in terms of like our different sort of items, but to say the least, like there's some cool items, dartboards, pool tables. Can't remember what I've all given away. I'll give away one today, but a red carpet. I want to do like a red carpet for all of my events. So they walk in, they go through like the red carpet to like come into the event itself.
That's really cool. Now, one of the things that you said in the beginning of what you were going on there, and it resonates with me as well, and it's you call it the poly count, and I believe that's just means the resolution of the graphics, right?
Yeah.
Like, to me, like I'm 40 years old. Like, when I think about the metaverse and when I want to go into the metaverse, I sure as shit don't want to do anything that's voxel related. Like,
Oh my God!
like
Thank you.
why like I don't understand like why all these companies are putting so much money into that. Like, and I get, you got Roblox and you got Minecraft, and that's what the kids are building and that's what they understand. But like, for anyone else, like, that's not a child, like, we need something that's way more realistic than that, like, or else it's not usable. Like, I just don't understand why that's so popular.
I would say because like something like Minecraft, Roblox, etc., especially something like Minecraft, what people want to do is they want to build their own experience within sort of the metaverse itself. And I think that's something that we're doing very well within Ethereum Towers. Like, we're kind of positioning ourselves as sort of like the metaverse for non-gamers. Like, it's not going to be a very gamified environment. Like, you're not going to have to do like, go kill a dragon in a dungeon, anything along those lines. Like, that is not our core demographic. And if you spend any time in like our Discord or on our Twitter, everybody's like, 35 to 55. Everybody has multiple kids. Everybody just wants like a place to hang out, interact with people their own age. As somebody that's played games for like 30 years of my life, I log into like different games, whether that be, Fortnite with my son or Call of Duty with friends, and I get absolutely destroyed. I'm too old. My reflexes aren't good anymore. I'm not hopped up on G Fuel and Red Bull right now. Like,
Right.
I stand no chance. now when it comes to metaverse, I just want to like go in there, hang out, have some fun, chit chat with people, almost have that same experience that I get playing like Fortnite or Call of Duty, but I don't then have to like get killed 50 times in a matter of like 10 minutes when I'm playing these games. I just want to be able to like hang out with my friends and like, not necessarily have to be sitting right next to them because we all have obligations. We can't just leave the house whenever we want anymore. Everybody has kids, they can't just like get up and leave and, nobody's at home to watch them. So having sort of that environment that you can just like invite people over, and obviously we'll have like mini games in the future, like basketball. I want to do boxing. I don't know if you've ever done Oculus boxing yet, but like
The Creed
it's a
game
workout.
is so cool.
Yeah.
It is. It's like you're gassed after one of those
Oh
3 minute
man.
rounds, dude.
Yeah, my poor Oculus headset is just soaking wet at the end of like a 3 round 2 minute boxing, and I think to myself like, 15 years ago, I'm sure I was in like unreal shape and I would have been able to go for, 30 of these matches in a row. But now it's like gassed and they give you like 1 minute in between rounds. And I'm just sitting there like sitting on my ass, just like, time out here, fake computer person, like give me a little bit more extra time here to sweat this one out. But yeah, I want to do like little fun mini games just to keep people a little bit more engaged whenever they're not, going to be able to meet up with their friends. But we're also going to have like tons of communal spaces. You can't, if there's nobody in your apartment, or maybe go into your apartment today, you can go down to like communal spaces like, Zen Garden, Wellness Center. We'll have like yoga and stuff like that within it, so you'll be able to learn stuff, meditate, etc. But have sort of those areas that you can kind of depend on, that other people will kind of congregate as well whenever there's nobody else around. So.
Dude, that's great, and I love all the different ways that that we can incorporate what we do into that metaverse, right? To keep ourselves in our mental health and our bodies, in that good working order. Like going down and you and doing yoga. I spoke at a conference. It was several months ago, and one of the things about it was mindfulness in the metaverse. And one of the other panelists on that was talking about a metaverse that they were creating, and it was that same kind of thing where it literally was just to go in, and they were hopefully finding ways to make it interoperable with some of the other metaverses. And it was not voxel, which by the way, it was it was more realistic than that, but it was just all about meditation and self-reflection, and like you pretty much like go out and you stare at this ocean, and like you speak some mantras and stuff, and like it was a pretty cool thing. I think that like all the ways that we're finding people to mind their mental health within this metaverse ecosystem, which I stare at my computer most of the time, up to 18 hours a day. I'm pretty sure that most of us in this ecosystem do. So like finding ways to keep your mind and your mental state in order, it can be challenging. Have you found anything like that?
Oh yeah, to say the least. Like I remember, so pre this job, I worked an unbelievably easy like software sales job. Monday to Friday. Kind of get up whenever I want and work like an 8-hour shift. So it was kind of like do whatever you want, travel whenever need be, all that sort of like fun stuff. And then I got into sort of the Web3 space, and I think a lot of people don't understand how much time goes into Web3. Like it is, I'm working with people all over the world. Some days I got to be up at like 6 a.m. because I got to get the kids ready to school, and then from there I'm hopping on a meeting at 7 a.m. And then after that, I might have a couple hours, but then I have to hop in with somebody from the UK, and then fast forward to the evening, and after the kids get to bed, then I have to hop on with somebody from Australia, and then somebody from Singapore or wherever it happens to be. All these different sort of conversations, and it is not Monday to Friday. It is 7 days a week. Whenever people are potentially available, you're getting into these different sort of conversations. And I can't remember who posted up a meme. It might have been like Alan Carroll or somebody, but it's like, I quit my 9 to 5 job to get into Web3 thinking it'd be easy. And here I am now putting in, 75 to 80 hour weeks in the Web3 space. I'm loving it, but it gets to being a lot some days, and some days like you are completely burnt out, you're exhausted, and you still have another call later this evening. It's not like you can get to bed, at 8 o'clock because you're zapped. It's like, okay, well, another round of coffee and stay up till 11, 12 o'clock at night to finish up that meeting, because this is the deal breaker. This is the one that's going to make the difference in sort of the ecosystem. It is a lot, a lot. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. I look back, it's been, a year of working on Ethereum Towers, and I've met so many unbelievably new, like unbelievable friends. I've been introduced to people all over the world, you name it. Been introduced to celebrities, musicians, actors, actresses, all because I have this cool metaverse that people want to come and hang out in. So it's exciting. Yeah.
It is a cool environment to be a part of. I mean, Web3 is very special. Big shout out to everybody that's here, right? Like you're in early. Like you're not always going to be able to say that you get into this fourth industrial revolution, or the blockchain will be the largest transformation of wealth in the history of humankind. Like everybody's we're all on the forefront end of it, building, developing, and you literally are doing that. And I think that's one of the most important aspects of this entire ecosystem is the people who are actually building a place for people to go, because that's where this is all going. And Shane, I appreciate you taking time, hanging out with me today, chatting about what you guys are doing, what you're going to be speaking about down in Miami, especially Ethereum Towers. It sounds like to me, like, and I've always heard of Ethereum Towers. I didn't get involved in it early on, but it sounds like to me, honestly, like that's the metaverse for me, because I'm not a gamer. I'm not a traditional gamer. Like I have terrible ADD, so I can't actually sit there and focus and play. But I want to go in. I want to experience the metaverse, and I just want to like hang out with people, and like if I'm drinking a beer, having a good conversation, listening to a comedian, me recording a podcast, like being able to do that kind of stuff. Like it sounds like Ethereum Towers might be my jam spot, man. I'm gonna probably have to check this out.
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing, as I mentioned before, we're kind of positioning ourselves as sort of like the metaverse for non-gamers. So obviously, not having like some sort of skill gap, but on top of that as well, like you shouldn't need to have like an advanced degree in, game design in order to build anything. You shouldn't have to take like 5 hour long courses in order to understand how to build a simple wall within your metaverse. So we have like this unbelievably simplistic, like almost like user interface that you look at like your wrist on Oculus, and then from there it pops up like, what do you want to do? You want to edit walls? Easy enough. Click on that. You want to add in, maybe it's like an artwork. You want to change up all of these different things. It's just like on your wrist, and then you just point and you press A to confirm, B to remove. We're trying to design this so that even me, and I'm a complete dummy when it comes to game design. I don't know what FBX stood for before getting into this. I don't know what Blender, none of that. Believe me, complete novice. But I can even log in there and do it, and like it's all in part to our unbelievable like development team that's based out of the UK. They're called Unity developers. They've developed like 135 different Oculus games, and to say the least, they're designing this for even people like myself. For my wife has gone there, been able to add in items, remove items, stuff like that. Is we want to make sure that everybody is able to design their own experience when it comes to the metaverse. So there'll be no two apartments that are identical unless somebody just doesn't design it, which is perfectly fine. But when I think of like existing metaverses right now, you go into them and either people don't know how to design things or they don't want to, and that's a bad thing for the.
Or you can't afford it.
Or you can't afford it, right? When it comes to, if you log into something like Decentraland, you may never actually know your neighbor, and your neighbor might never actually build anything on their land. So you might have like massive, barren land surrounding your potential place, and just like any other sort of real estate investment, that's not great, right? You want to have something that kind of surrounds yourself so that it has more people to come and more foot traffic, etc. Within Ethereum Towers, anyways, it's apartments, so it's all behind closed doors. And if somebody never actually builds on their land, that's perfectly fine. The environment itself is still picturesque, holiday-esque, utopian, whatever you really want to call it. It's unbelievably nice looking. It's just behind a closed door. And you can control access to your apartment, whether it be just like public, whether or not it be like a guild or a clan system. So if you wanted to call it JChains, guild, anybody that applied to get into there and you accepted them would be able to then come into your apartment. Or you can just make it completely private. Maybe you're like me and you just want like a place to unwind and do sort of your meditation within this cool apartment. By all means, that's your final option. So it just makes, sort of that overall experience, or the experience that I want in the metaverse, actually come to fruition. It really lends well to people that are just looking for sort of a getaway, and they don't necessarily need to be experts, and want to have a nice looking area that kind of surrounds them.
Absolutely, man. I'm right there with you. I love it. I love everything you guys are talking about. I'm definitely going to check out Towers, and I look forward to seeing you down in Miami, man. This was a great conversation. Great to get to know you. It'll make it easier to announce you up on stage, and then I'm sure we'll have a conversation and get to hang out down in South Beach coming up soon here, man.
Yeah, it's going to be tons of fun. Looking forward to it. It's going to be tons of, I assume, activities that are taking place. Lots of other amazing speakers. Looking through that lineup of individuals I've either worked with or have done business with actually in the past. I read through all the keynote speakers. I was like, oh yeah, we paid, we've worked with them. So it's going to be able to catch up with them IRL is going to be tons of fun as well.
Very good. Now, if anybody wants to check out Ethereum Towers, obviously you guys got a website and people can go there. You got a Discord. If people want to connect with you, is there a best way to try to connect with you?
Probably Twitter or Discord. Yeah, either one of those. I'm Dad Cypher, DADCIPHER on Twitter and on Discord. I think I go like Shane Dad Cypher on Discord, but yeah, Twitter. Decipher, but instead of DE at the beginning, it's Dad. So
I love it.
Love it. Feel free to reach out on Twitter, Discord. If you're sending me one late North America time, I probably won't get to it till like the next day in the afternoon, because I wake up to quite literally like 70 to 80 DMs from like my business partner in the UK, as well as like just trying to play catch up from the night before from other people's DMs. So just prepare yourself. Sometimes I do take a little bit of time to get back to you, but that's for the most part, I answer everyone unless you're like just straight up shilling in my DMs. But
that is awesome. Going back to what we were saying before, staying caught up and staying making sure that what's happening within Web3, it can be that challenge, right? So it's just like there is always so much to read where you're just like, man, I can't literally, like, if I want to take a day off, like I still kind of have to know what's going on, or else like you'll be living in another world if you take like a couple days off.
Oh, it is crazy. I had one family trip where I took like an afternoon / like maybe part of a morning off, and I came back and I looked at my Telegram and I think I had like 92 messages, and then Discord is like our primary like internal tool, and I probably had like, I don't know, 150 messages. Brandon's a big typer. He's a big typer, and he does fantastic for note taking. But yeah, he sends me at least 70 DMs overnight, and if it's over 2 days, yeah, multiply that by 2. 140 messages, I'm sure of it.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's good. Well, I do appreciate you taking time to chat with me today, and I'll see you down in Miami. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, it was nice meeting you there, JChains.
Nice meeting you, Shane. Take care.